a story about an early church. That was the church of Colossae. And if you want to follow along in your Bible, there's some on the back of the chairs there. It's on page 178. Just a minute, I'm going to read a brief verse. But I want to tell you a little bit about this book of Colossians. It's page 178, if you want to find that in there. Colossians is a letter that was written either by Paul or one of his followers. And he was written to the church there in Colossae because it was having some strife. Now, can you imagine that? I know that's hard to believe, but it was true. And this was just like, these were like the first churches. I mean, this was like at the ground level here. So Paul, as you know, was always writing letters and traveling around and uplifting the churches. So basically, this church was having some kind of disharmony. We don't know exactly what, but the writer of this letter to the Colossians said, look, if you want to have harmony in your church, you need to do two things. The first thing you need to do is you need to quit running around trying to find a quick fix. That's not going to work. Now, I am translating a little loosely here, but that is what he said. You can read it for yourself. Okay. So he said, quit running around looking for the quick fix. He said, find and focus on the Christ. Focus on God's presence. There's one presence and one power in this universe and in your lives, and it's God. And focus on that because the power of God is with you and within you. Focus on that. And quit running around looking to these outer things to save you because it's not going to work. So he said, that's the first thing to do if you want harmony in this church. And he said, the second thing to do if you want harmony in this church is look at each other in the eye and find the Christ. He said, quit running around and making all this divisiveness and all this judgmentalness and all this condemnation based on all these outer things about people. He said, dig a little deeper and find the Christ. And he said, if you'll do those two things, then your church will come into harmony. Now, he goes on for 2.5 chapters giving them a finger shaking. He goes on and on about this, and you can read it for yourself. He goes on and on. But then, he says, in the middle of chapter 3, what we call chapter 3, he didn't divide them into chapters, but anyway, this is in chapter 3, verse 14. After all the finger shaking and all the exhorting, this is what he says. He says, above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. So that's the important part. You know, everything, our intellect is good, all of our skills are good, all the different processes are good, but what really makes them work is love. We're all hungry for love. And the reason we're so hungry is because we think it's out there and we have to go hunt for it. We know the truth. The truth is that love is who we are and it's within us. And so I invite us to let that love that is God within us touch us today, to come forth in us in beautiful ways as we do this dance together. He also said, clothe yourselves in love. And that means it takes some effort. You know, it takes a little effort to get your clothes together, doesn't it? You have to go buy them or make them, or somebody's got to give them to you, and then you got to put them on, and then you got to wash them and clean them, and you got to store them, and it takes some effort to have clothes. So he's saying, clothe yourself in love. It makes some effort to get in touch with that love that is God, that is who you are, and let that come forth in you. And in our meditation today, in just a moment, we're going to experience a little bit of getting in touch with that power of God's love that is who we are and letting that flow. So I invite you this week to practice in your own way, in whatever way that is, letting that love of God express through you. For as we do that, as we make that effort, what happens is that we connect with one another. He says it binds everything together in harmony. And what happens is we begin to connect with one another in very rich and very full ways. We begin to connect with one another in love. So my friends, as the Japanese proverb says, you can probably quote it with me now if you can't say it with me, we're all fools anyway, whether we dance or not. So we might as well dance. Shall we dance? Yeah.